Mercedes have been the biggest shock of the season so far. McLaren failing to build a car that works isn't a big shock. Aston Martin being competitive all of a sudden is surprising, but considering how much work is going on behind the scenes at the team, it was coming at some point. Mercedes potentially going backwards, not forwards, is almost beyond belief. But they have a plan B car in the works, right? Well, not according to Hamilton. So what is going on at the Silver Arrows, and what have they got planned for the W14? From day one of testing, things just didn't seem right at Mercedes. Actually, that feeling started before that. Their car reveal was when we first thought things might not have gone as well as they hoped over the winter. All the talk about being competitive eventually, and the team needing time to battle at the front of the grid, just didn't sound like a championship-winning team. That sounded like a team that knew they'd made mistakes to us. Despite the lack of positivity from the team, their preseason did go far better than 2022's. The team started off preseason testing feeling encouraged with the progress made with the car, which trackside engineering director Andrew Chauvelin described as much calmer than the W13. While Mercedes may have cured the bouncing that was generated by porpoising and affected their handling in high-speed corners, the car still has trouble getting into the right setup window. But Hamilton said curing the bouncing was the main priority for the team, as it often masked the main setup problems. I knew from the moment I drove the car where we were and the challenges that we'd be facing, he told the media. On a positive, not having a bouncing issue is a huge plus, and trying to understand what the problem is, whilst having bouncing really makes it difficult to figure out what those are, so we won't have that now. When asked if he shares the same bullish attitude as his teammate George Russell, the 7-time world champion replied that he would not use those words for now. Hamilton continued to say the team is not where they want to be at the start of the season, but has belief they can turn things around. Now we can focus on just pure performance, and I'm encouraged to see just the focus and the courage of everyone within the team. They're so focused on getting us back to the top. We're not where we wanted to be at the start of the season. If you haven't already realised, I'm a big fan of outlandish predictions. Sure, they're unlikely, but one has to be correct eventually, right? In fact, I'm such a big fan of them, I found a way to earn money while making them. Newwit is a free, fun and social app that lets you predict a variety of topics from F1, NBA to which stocks or cryptos are going to perform well. The app is completely free to play, and it rewards you for making correct predictions without any of the risk or cost of betting. My favourite part so far has been talking to people in the comments about what's going to happen when the season begins, and why Aston Martin is going to get a podium in Bahrain. It is officially available on the App Store and Google Play Store as well. Since it was released for the 2022 World Cup, players have already earned more than $5,000 worth of prize pool, which is insane considering it costs nothing. With the new F1 season starting this weekend, make sure to join the special F1 prediction tournament running from March 1st to May 31st, covering all the races up to Monaco. There are a total of 20,000 Wise tokens up for grab that will be distributed among users, and the top 3 players will each earn a $60 gift card from F1 Authentics, who have some sick F1 gear for sale. The more predictions you make, the higher chance you can win. So what are you waiting for? It's lights out, and download the Newwit app from my link or by scanning the QR code. Register the app using my referral code and follow Formula 1 to join the prediction tournament. Follow F1 Reverse on the app to see my predictions as well. Let's see if you can beat me on the leaderboard. The car is obviously not what Mercedes wanted it to be, but there were plenty of quotes from Toto Wolff and Andrew Chauvelin that seemed to indicate that the team could have a huge upgrade package in the works. From the sounds of things, Mercedes were planning for a world where they binned the controversial zero-pod design and instead went with something similar to the rest of the grid. Mercedes would never admit copying another team's design, of course, but considering the other 9 teams have made their bodywork into a combination of Red Bull and Ferrari, you would imagine that would be the plan. We kept staying with the narrow side pod as it is, but you could well see some development from now on that could be coming with the upgrades, and the side pod will change. Not very soon, but we are looking at solutions, said Toto Wolff during testing. Mercedes technical director Mike Elliott told Sky Sport, "So there is a bodywork coming. It will look different. It won't look like somebody else's. It will look like an evolution of ours. That's on its way." To me, it sounds a lot like Mercedes have a big update coming to the car, but it was actually Sky Sports' Ted Kravitz that started the rumour of the Plan B car. He claimed Mercedes has another car concept that's more in line with the design of Red Bull, that it can introduce midway through the season if their issues from last season still persist. They're giving their big idea, which was a failure last year, one more go. But I believe they have a plan B in production, said Kravitz. If they need to, they can go to a plan B, which is the Red Bull or Ferrari style of doing things in the middle of the season. On the surface, this does sound like a reasonable thing to do. In past seasons, teams would have multiple development paths in the works, and if one didn't work, they could make the switch to another. That's a great way to get as fast a car as possible, but it's also a great way to burn through money, something that teams can't do anymore. Mercedes used to spend $500 million a year running their team, and a huge chunk of that money would be sunk into development that never actually made it to the car. They could have a plan B and C and even D, and if they never used them, it was fine because the money didn't matter. Now though, we have a budget cap that they have to adhere to. Hamilton put it in plain and simple terms for all the Mercedes fans. I saw people talking about a plan B. There isn't one, it's complete rubbish. Ultimately, we're living in a time of the cost cap. To rebuild and redo the design of a car, you have to go back to square one, and we don't have time in a season to do that. So that's not on the cards. We'll continue to evolve and build this car and try to push it to its absolute limit. I know I've got the best team behind me to close the gap, but it's just finding the performance as fast as we can. I know that's going to be a disappointment to many people, but there are positives to take from this. Let's imagine that Mercedes were developing another car in the background. What would that mean? Well, firstly, it would mean they don't have 100% belief in the car they built at the start of the season. That would be an issue. If they built a car they don't think can be good, then the team would have no chance. Secondly, it would mean their funds and engineers were split between two projects, and when you can't just outspend everyone on the grid, those funds and engineers need to be directed at one project. So while the lack of a W14B might be a disappointment to some people, there are still positives to take. I am writing and recording this before the first free practice of the season though, so if they finish that session 19th and 20th, then ignore what I said. They definitely need a plan B in that case. After being in panic mode early last season with a bouncing and uncompetitive W13, Hamilton says that bouncing is not present in the W14 and feels like this challenger is a good foundation for Mercedes to build upon. It's just for us to keep our heads down, and I think last year when we arrived and we had all those problems, all of us, it was just like a panic mode, trying to figure out what was the issue and then try and fix it, and it took us forever to fully try and understand it, said Hamilton. This year we're starting with a car that doesn't bounce, but it is very, very similar to last year's car. But there are some positives, and I think it's a good foundation to work from. That is the important thing for Mercedes. Last year they had absolutely nothing to build on because they had no idea what they'd built. This year they at least have some understanding of what they have. They aren't fighting a bouncing monstrosity, they have a solid platform that they can build upon. And while they might not have a plan B car, they do have plans to build on the platform they already have. Technical director Mike Elliott spoke to Sky Sports about Mercedes' plans to develop throughout the year. There's bodywork coming and it will look different. It won't look like someone else's, it will look like an evolution of ours. That's on its way. Competition-wise, hopefully we're back with the new upgrades. But I think we have to be humble. We have to remember we've got good competition. If we take a step forward and get closer to the front, then we're back in it. If we can develop over the course of the season, then hopefully we can fight for the championship. So, to answer my original question, what do Mercedes have planned for the W14? Well, a lot by the sounds of things. Despite what everyone has been saying, they aren't going to run it for 3 or 4 races and then roll up to a race with the W14B. They're going to stick with what they have and just do what Mercedes do best, which is develop throughout the season. The days of Formula 1 teams being able to overhaul the car mid-season are long gone now. But that doesn't mean that Mercedes can't turn things around and challenge for a title over the whole season. Do you think Merc will be able to turn the W14 into a race winner? Or should they have been the car over the winter and developed a new car for this year? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to get all the news as the new season begins. Until next time, drive safe and bye for now.